All right, guys, thank you so much for your patience and thanks for returning to Black Spring with Autumn on a Friday. I do want to thank you guys for tuning in wherever you may have found time to tune in this week, whether it was for something short or just an update. You are appreciated, so just want to let you know that. Thanks for your support on the channel. So today, I just walked out and I had to come back in. Shout out to Watchman, it's a Samoan Watchman. Um, thank you so much if you're able to come back in. You got a little bit of drive time with Black Spring in the background. So, thank you, Watchman. I really appreciate it. So let me tell you what I'm on about here. So, as I was saying earlier, it's not every day that I go back into the archives and I have, and I mean, I'm sure I can, because I've talked to you guys in the past about how I think that we're on a kind of a deja vu cycle that spans from around, might even go back to, I might even say 2019 to 2025. We might even be able to say 2018, because the 2018 was the beginning of my own journey, if you will, with oh my gosh, Zero the Infinite's here. Thank you so much for tuning in, Zero the Infinite. Great to see you. Good to see you. It's been a lifetime. So I just wanted to come back today. What I have here is I was able to go back. I ran into an actual piece that I found on Newsmax, and it's entitled "Study Warns China Holds the Keys to America's Medical Drugs." And I was just thinking to myself, wow, I've been saying this for a while, and it's not that I'm not prophetic by any stretch, but I do recognize rhetoric, I do recognize patterns, and I do recognize persuasion. So, and I've said this before, I frame to expose the frame. That's another objective here. But specifically, when there's an opportunity for me to see something in a rhetorical cycle, then of course I'm going to I'm compelled to make commentary, or to give guidance, or to point those things out. So specifically, this piece from Newsmax actually mirrors a piece that I covered about 5 or 6 years ago regarding China making your medicine, and that was a special that was taken up by the TNA. That's the New American, for those of you that are new to the channel. This was a piece that I covered back in the beginnings of Black Spring with Autumn. So I am to be able to step back and look at the time that's passed and to where I am currently. It's good to be able to step back and reflect on that. And thank you guys for tuning in. So with that said, I made a lot of comments in the past on the trade wars. The trade wars, even at that particular time, it talked about the trade wars between longtime adversaries escalating, and that America's dangerous dependence on China for vital medicines could have lethal consequences. Now that was September 16th of 2019, and that piece was run by the New American. And at that particular time, I was pretty emphatic about how I felt at the time that our government, that they had received warnings that we had too much dependence on China at the particular time when it came to pharmaceuticals and pharmaceutical ingredients. So allegedly in 1994, the Congress was warned that transferring power to the World Trade Organization and through some of these multilateral trade agreements basically was a national security risk, or it jeopardized the sovereignty of the nation. And so I kind of want to talk just a little bit about that. So these two pieces, one was written, of course, by Rebecca Terrell, and the piece from Newsmax. This was actually just released today. So we have, you know, we're coming from two different time periods, but really, how different are they? Are the time periods that different? We're still dealing with a trade war, quote, war, if you will. I don't know. You might see that a little differently, you know. But what I want to do is, I'm not sure if things have changed that much, because, you know, our Congress does have the power to regulate the relations when it comes to trade, you know, foreign commerce. But I don't know what our Congress does anymore other than political theater. I don't know what they do. I'm not convinced that they do anything. At that particular time, around 5-6 years ago, I was checking constitutional voting records and looking at many regards from a, quote, maybe you might say from a conservative lens. But that's certainly, I'm not convinced that there are actual conservative and Democrats and liberal lenses. I think this is all a part of an illusion to disillusion people. And to me, it's actually quite worldly to me. I think that a lot of people are feeding into a lot of that. I think politics right now have been merged with religion. And I think it's pretty, you know, whether you're consider yourself a Christian or a follower of Christ, I think that that's pretty blasphemous. And some of these things are hard to watch, including some of these things that, you know, I've seen everything from people comparing, basically saying that the late Charlie Kirk died for our sins. Was that Dr. Frank, whatever that guy, his last name is? I mean, there's some really bizarre things that are coming out. It's like, this is the time of deception. Like, how much of what we see or what we hear is actually real, with the amount of AI, the amount of Sora, the amount of AI can manipulate your voice. What can you actually believe these days? What can you actually believe about what we see? And many of these people are telling you, oh, well, believe your eyes. You know, you saw this person be martyred, and, you know, they want you to rely on what you see on the internet. You know, that's their safety net, dare I say. So, you know, I'm just saying it's a bit much, but I don't want to digress too much. That's Frank Turek. This Frank Turek guy, this, you know, basically, to me, they've put him up there next to Jesus, and I'm just thinking, you know, it's a lot. I can't really stand to deal with it, or to, you know, not get too close to it. And I've seen it done even at these inaugural rituals. They're doing the same kinds of things during the inauguration. They mentioned, you know, Trump and talked about how, America, you know, should be thankful to his parents, Mary, and blah, blah, blah. I was, okay, so I see where you're going with this. This is another one of these cadences in which you guys are using politics. You're putting politics and religion together to push these agendas. And there's an entire event going on this weekend. It's something, I think it's called the DT, it's in DC. It's a communion kind of an event in DC this weekend. Really bizarre. Awaken the Dawn, ATD, Awaken the Dawn. And it's something, it looks like a political campaign, but it's called 50 Tents, 50 Cities. I mean, it's really extreme, guys. Well, that's a whole nother, I'm going on another tangent here, okay? So let me just keep going on here. Or I might be a little bit off on the date on that, but let me keep going here. So I just wanted to talk to you guys about this, this medicine situation. So let's just look at this one particular article. So I don't know if this is news to you guys. I mean, you can look at the archives. My particular video, for those of you that are newcomers, if you want to go back to it, You can see I made a video. It was China Makes America's Medicine. That's what I entitled it. I mean, since 5 years ago. 5 years ago. All right, so let's go with this one first. Let's go with first, the study warns China holds the keys to America's medical drugs. All right, so accordingly in the study, a study that has raised alarm bells in Washington and the pharmaceutical industry, revealing that the United States medicine supply is heavily dependent on China for key drug ingredients. Well, this is what I want to go ahead and debunk that. This is not news. This is not news. When I did an actual video on this piece 5 years ago, okay? You have your generics, you have a percentage of our meds that are actually made China, and then you have a percentage of about 11% of those that are also made in India. So this study right here is really late in the game, late to the game. So let me continue here. Experts warn that the vulnerability could threaten both public health and national security. The analysis released by the U.S. Pharmacopoeia in its latest medicine supply map report found that the building blocks used to make many of America's most vital drugs, known as key starting materials or KSMs, are overwhelmingly sourced from just a few countries. Most troubling, 41% of these essential materials come solely from China, while another 16% are sourced exclusively from India. Quote, 58% of the KSMs, that is key starting materials to you, used in the U.S. approved medicines are sourced from a single country. The report includes, quote, such concentration poses significant risk of disruption in the event of geopolitical conflict, export restrictions, or natural disasters, end quote, the report stated. The KSMs are needed to synthesize active pharmaceutical ingredients known as APIs, which in turn are used to make finished drug products. Without these materials, production of everything from antibiotics to heart medications could grind to a halt. According to USP, half of all U.S. approved APIs rely on at least one KSM that comes from a single country, with China serving as the exclusive supplier from nearly 680 critical medicines. India provides sole sources, KSMs, for another 400 APIs, while the United States itself produces only 4 KSMs exclusively. Now, my friends, now I'm going to tell you right now, this was not the fact that that the United States only produces 4 KSMs, that's key, these key ingredients. I don't think that was done haphazardly. I think that this was all done, this was done on purpose. This was purposely done. Key starting materials. All right. So the same issue came up. There's nothing new under the sun. This issue was well documented 5 years ago, over 5 years ago. It talks about the antibiotics in the United States, as well as a stark example of the vulnerability. So amoxicillin, the doxycyclines. There was a ban back in 2019 that India lifted in order to create more hydroxychloroquine during the COVID-19. So do you think is this new? You see how we're talking about framing. I've been talking about framing and gatekeeping. This is what I'm talking about. How is it that the New American reported about this 5 years ago, over 5 years ago? And here this comes out on October 17th of 2025. This is to me classic gatekeeping and framing. They leave this information out. It's already there. It's not a new study. You call it a study, but the New American had it almost 6 years ago. 6 years ago. Okay, so I'm just saying this is complete hogwash. So we have to be able to realize that a lot of gatekeeping on something as essential as drugs that many people rely on for whether it's, you know, their health conditions, these key ingredients, these KSMs, the United States only makes 4 of them. Of course, and it could be weaponized. That's the other point. Weaponizing drugs against the U.S. The weaponizing against the U.S. with these drugs and with these KSMs, the high price of these cheap meds, and then it's the national security. So it's just a bunch of hogwash. Weaponizing pharmaceuticals, using meds as weapons of war. Are we beyond that? Synonymous with human rights violations, espionage, and cyber hacking. So I'm just saying, we're always at the risk. We've been at this risk for some time. We were at their mercy, 6 years ago, 5-6 years ago. All right, so let me keep going here. So I feel like this is a deja vu cycle for me because none of this is new, okay? Those talking points are not new at all. So I'll keep going. So while amoxicillin appears to be produced globally, its synthesis ultimately depends on 4 KSMs made almost entirely in China. The most critical of these is the amino penicillinic acid, or 6-APA, is also used in producing several other penicillin-based antibiotics, such as ampicillin, decloxacillin, and piperacillin. Okay? Quote, any disruption, such as a factory shutdown or export restriction, could quickly cascade through the global supply chain, the authors warn. Diversified API manufacturing offers little protection when all depend on the same upstream source. The findings echo growing partisan concern in Washington over America's reliance on foreign adversaries for essential goods, for semiconductors to medical equipment. Lawmakers and national security experts have repeatedly pointed out that China could exploit its pharmaceutical dominance in the event of geopolitical crisis. The COVID-19 pandemic already exposed the fragility of the global supply chains as shortages of basic drugs and medical supplies rippled across the world. The USP's new data suggests that the structural risks have only deepened since then. Quote, the concentration of KSM, those are the key materials production in just 2 countries, China and India, represent a systemic vulnerability that could threaten access to life-saving medicines. End quote, said Gabriela Grassa Menino, one of the study's lead authors. To mitigate the risk, USP's researchers are urging policymakers to take immediate steps to diversify the medicine supply chain. They recommend annual vulnerability assessments, greater transparency from manufacturers, and new incentives for domestic or, quote, friend-shored production, meaning production identify and mitigate risk before they reach patients. USP suggests that the federal government modernize its procurement rules to prioritize supply reliability and resilience, not just the cost. The authors also call for funding research into alternative synthesis routines and advanced manufacturing techniques that could make domestic production more economically viable. Experts believe that technologies such as continuous flow manufacturing could allow U.S. producers to make KSMs and APIs more efficiently at lower cost, reducing dependence on overseas suppliers. Okay, for those of you that are coming in, we're talking about how they're claiming that there's a study that warns China holds the keys to America's medical drugs. Well, I did a video almost 6 years ago about the same thing, about a piece that China was making your medicines and what could happen in this case. Okay, so for them to release something about a study on October 17th of 2025, that is textbook gatekeeping and framing to me. This is not a new study. It's not a new revelation. see, Derek C. Williams is here. Thank you so much, Derek C. Williams. Let me take care of something right here. I'm hoping I get this right. Okay, let me see if that works out. Okay, hopefully that'll update for you. Okay, let me keep going here. So yeah, so we've talked about this. And let's keep going here. Thank you guys so much for coming in. I really appreciate it. So, it says the authors call for funding research into alternative synthesis routes and advancing manufacturing techniques that could make domestic production more economically viable. Experts believe that technologies such as continuous flow manufacturing could allow U.S. producers to make KSMs and APIs more efficiently and at lower cost, reducing dependence on overseas suppliers. Quote, bringing more production of essential medicines and ingredients to America and its allies requires innovative chemistry and scalable manufacturing, end quote, the report said. Quote, advanced synthesis approaches can strengthen rapid response capabilities and enhance national security. So I just want to make a point to distinguish here is that it's not that the study is not, that I don't think the study is valid. The study is going into the specifics on the ingredients that it takes to make these drugs. It's the key starting materials, the KSMs. Well, the United States only makes one. But who in the world outsourced all of our work? All of our trade and our work overseas. Okay, so you had the World Trade Organization. They made all kinds of deals back in the 90s. So that's brought us to where we are right now. And everybody that sits in Congress, or these people that have retired from Congress, they all sit back and pretend like this is some type of phenomenon, that they had no idea that our work was outsourced or that our industry was outsourced on a foreign entity. No. Okay. So let me just keep going here. This is a point of irritation to me because it's the study itself on the key ingredients, the key ingredients that are needed to make these drugs. But the exposure, the fact that it's been a problem, that it presents a national security threat, that it presents a weaponization threat in the event that there's geopolitical conflict or, contamination of drugs. And some people, the drug heparin was already laced with, they had an issue with that already. So I'm just saying, you guys remember hydroxychloroquine? Allegedly, there was a ban that had to be lifted so that they could make more of that particular drug during 2019, the COVID-19. So I'm just going to keep going here. So while globalization has lowered the price of many drugs, it has also left the U.S. dangerously exposed to disruptions far beyond its borders. Quote, globalization has helped increase access to quality medicines at lower cost, end quote, the study concluded. But, quote, but supply chains have grown longer, more complex, and fragmented, leading to a lack of visibility and an increase in vulnerability risk. For a nation that spends more than $600 billion annually on prescription drugs, the report offers a stark reminder. America's medicine cabinet, for now, depends heavily on the goodwill of foreign powers, especially China. So there I just gave you the KSM is about the KSM, and what we actually manufacture here is about the only new term on the block here, but the key starting materials, the KSMs. So I guess we need to keep that in circulation. So yeah, but nothing about this. This was all the issues that are a threat to the nation were exposed almost 6 years ago. Let's read some comments here. Flying Guillotine says India and China has the populations to pull that. Flying Guillotine also said that diabolical thinking. Let's see here. I appreciate you guys so much for coming in and it's Derek C. Williams. So Derek C. Williams, try to say something else in the comment section. That's so funny that, it's just, I thought I fixed that. It's so funny. Well, we'll work on it, okay? So just specifically here, the points that I wanted to bring out were, you know, let's just go here. So the trade wars were kind of a mess back then. You guys remember the USMCA? The USMCA is something that I don't hear anything about. I've mentioned this before, this year and last year. Nobody talks about the US, Mexico, and Canada agreement anymore. No one. But then there were all kinds of protections in there. But what was it was over what? It was over 1,500 pages, so I guess nobody bothered to read it, I guess. But here again, according to this article, there's a lot of similarities here. But like the biggest ones are the national security, the national security point, rocket fuel contaminants, of course I got the national security, and the weaponizing of pharmaceuticals. So yeah, so it's, you know, I'm just not sure what in the world, I'm just not sure what these so-called leaders are actually doing anymore. They're not doing anything. They're doing their little political theater dance, and they're going home every day, or they're out toasting and drinking beers, I guess, somewhere on Capitol Hill, I guess. Because our Congress has the power to regulate commerce among foreign nations, but they don't. I mean, I don't really know what goes on. It's almost like Congress is a moot point, and I don't know why we even have these elections. I don't know why. Because even with the USMCA, I talked about this before, that that particular piece of trade agreement, and that was going to be governed by an appointed committee, not by the U.S. So, you know, are they going to be looking out for the U.S. best interest? No, they're not. So here again, another piece of legislation, another piece to sell the people of the country up the river. National security. All this, you know, it just keeps coming back. It's on a rhetorical, on a cycle. So yeah, so I'm just saying, you know, I'm not sure how the country can be safe if we have already had an issue with China in the past, and some of our medications have already been laced with something that sent somebody into heart and other vital organs failure. I just don't know. I just don't know. It's ridiculous. So another one, you know, the antibiotics, the doxycycline, the ciprofloxacin. Yeah, these are all between China and India. That's exactly where these ingredients are made. The key starting materials are made, and we make one of those. Realize is here. Thank you so much, Realize. Thank you so much for coming in. So Realize, we're talking about, or anyone that's just coming in, we're talking about how there's a study out there that talks about the vulnerabilities, because a lot of America's medicine, of course, China holds the keys to America's medical drugs. But I'm here to expose the frame that's been an exposed case for almost 6 years. But the only thing the study is doing is identifying the key starting materials that are used to make them. So we only make one of those ingredients, and 4 of those ingredients are made overseas by, e.g., China and India. So we're already vulnerable. And I've talked about, you know, national security. We've talked about how they can weaponize these pharmaceuticals against us. They keep making all these deals with big pharma, and they're buying cheap drugs. Why isn't that exposed? Cheap drugs. Most people, when they think of China, they're not thinking of quality. They think of cheap products, whether they like it or not, you know, like it or not. Even vitamin C supplements. Your vitamin C supplements are probably Chinese. Okay? Of course, you know, the last U.S. production facility shuttered at a short time after Congress passed the U.S.-China Trade Relations Act of 2000, a measure that then President Bill Clinton promised would secure American jobs and safeguard surges of Chinese imports. Instead, China's predatory pricing crushed the U.S. producers and wiped out jobs. After they obtained dominance, Chinese firms raised the price of ascorbic acid by as much as 600%. The ensuing antitrust lawsuit brought by U.S. businesses against the offenders revealed that the Chinese government, quote, required its domestic companies to fix prices and control exports of vitamin C, end quote, relates Gibson. Aspirin active ingredients, acetylsalicylic acid suffered an identical fate from a Chinese cartel. So, you know, all of these acts that they've been signing over the years go back to 94. They made a lot of deals with the World Trade Organizations. And allegedly they were warned back then what could happen if foreign nations, if they did not manage, if Congress didn't actually manage, regulate the commerce. And I just don't think Congress does anything. You guys, like I said, we go back to COVID-19. Allegedly, India had to lift a ban on the hydroxychloroquine just to produce more of it, to get it out. So I'm just saying, I've talked about framing, I've talked about gatekeeping. This is a gate has been a gate kept piece. Okay? It's like they didn't want it out. They didn't want it out. Oh yeah. Thank you guys so much for coming in. John Roberts is here. Realize. Thank you so much. And John Roberts, Zero the Infinite, who I have not seen in a lifetime, is here. And shout out to Independent Mini United. Indy, if you're in the house, thank you. I saw you last night on Anarchy Television. It's good to see you guys. It's like a huge reunion, and I appreciate you guys so much for all the support and all of the words of encouragement, because, you know, YouTube, AI, it's all tied and linked together. So yeah, so I just wanted to bring you guys this particular piece. But, you know, Big Pharma, you know, they buy cheap meds from China. But for some reason, we just keep on, we've made ourselves, between all of these trade acts, from 94 up to the present. And I've told you guys, nobody talks about the USMCA. And I noticed as soon as they got that thing signed and nobody read it, I was so irritated about it. Because, you know, I'm just thinking, okay, well, if you're going to do this, then why wouldn't anybody read it? You know, there were all kinds of protections in there. That's the United States, Mexico, and Canada agreement. Yeah. Yeah, that's the time. That's during the first term, Trump's first term. So, you know, just saying, just bringing it out. So yeah, so you have a vast majority of these drugs and the ingredients that are made in China, and the other percent is made in India, especially the antibiotics, especially the generics. Okay. So yeah, but I just wanted to go, there's one particular piece of this that I wanted to bring up, in which we've already had an issue with a particular drug being laced that came out of China. But what was done about that? So, you know, it's kind of rough, guys. We are in some interesting times, to say the least. It's a lot of deception going on. I'm going to be honest. I don't think this whole peace thing is going to be, I think this peace situation is going to be very short-lived. I do. I just saying. Just saying. But yeah, I just wanted to let you guys know that, I mean, this was the New American did a big piece on the drugs and, you know, some very specific points that should be of concern to the American public, to national security, to, weaponization of the pharmaceutical, weaponization of the whole thing. So I don't know, we could all be, we could all be at our knees at any moment. And they know it. They know it. So once again, I appreciate you guys so much for coming in. I really appreciate everything. Not to mention, it looks like California, like I know the Hotel Del, I'm pretty sure the Hotel Del has been purchased by China. That is the oldest hotel, I think, in the country. I believe it is. And as well, there's a lot of homes. I think a lot of homes all the way into Red. A lot of homes in La Jolla. Those are like $1 million homes right there on the edge of the water. And I'm told that, those are all owned by, China. So I don't know, guys. You got to think about it. What's happening. So I'll bring that one point. Let me read a comment from Realize. She says at Black Spring, they have sold us out piece by piece in every and anything for money, power, and control. Many people are not awakened to what's really going on. You're absolutely correct. They are not. And they have. And it's like it's continuing to happen. And, it's just like there's just like a big lull, not everybody, but the masses, the majority goes back to sleep. And see, when they release things like this, the study warns China holds the keys to American medicine, America's medical drugs. I mean, that means basically with me knowing about this at least 6 years ago, then to me, this is something that they withheld. Instead of them saying China, a study warns that China holds the keys. No, you hold the information. So you're a gatekeeper and you're a framer when you're out here withholding information and claiming that this is a new phenomenon or this is it's not new. It's not new. So the key starting materials are just about the only thing that I learned new from this Newsmax piece. But the threat and containment, the threat and containment narrative is 6 years old. It's more than 6 years old. So how is it that these people can comfortably sit here and cite World Trade Organization deals from '94, and then you have this whole other 2000 this act that was signed in 2000 at the with the help of Bill Clinton. I'm just saying this is not new. It's just been gate kept is all. It's been filtered. The U.S.-China Trade Relations Act of 2000. And they said Clinton promised it would secure American jobs and safeguard the urges against surges of Chinese imports. So, I don't know about you, but have we just made bad decisions? Are we really that misguided? With all of our Secretary of States, and I mean, what we have intelligence, but we haven't acted intelligently. We've acted as if we've been unintelligent. We've had unintelligence for so long, or is it just deception? Is it all just illusions? I'm gonna let you guys decide. Have we ever had any intelligence prior to AI? The way we've governed, the amount of risk that we have, down to the medications that people rely on. I'm just saying. So yeah, let me know what you guys think in the comments section. So yeah, I appreciate you guys so much for coming on. let's see. Let me thank everyone, and I'm going to let you guys get out of here. I know it's Friday, but I just had, you know, if you want to go back into the archives, you can see the video I made 5 years ago, China Makes America's Medicine. At which point I talked about the Congress, their power, what they do, what they've done, what they haven't done. And yeah. So let me thank you guys so much. Derek C. Williams is here. Realize is here. John Roberts is here. Let's see. John Roberts is here. Let's see. Who else do we have? Flying Guillotine 22 is here. The Watchman. The Watchman's on the drive home. You be safe out there. Zero to Infinite came in. It's been such a long time, and like I said, you know, I appreciate you guys with the support and all. And yeah, but we'll just keep exposing and bringing the comment, bringing the, you know, bringing it out. Derek C. Williams says pull-ups and burpees today. Respect you to be. Oh, I appreciate you so much for coming in, Derek C. Williams. All right, guys, let me know what you think in the comment section about all the from 1994 to. From 1994 to 2025. Sounds like we've had enough trade acts and to completely undermine sovereignty, safety, security, you name it. All of the themes, right? All right, guys. Well, you guys have a great rest of your Friday evening, and I'm pretty much thinking I'm going to be back sometime between tomorrow and definitely Sunday. If not tomorrow, definitely Sunday. Derek C. Williams says, programming note, I just put up a video about blacks and being on code. Gotcha. I started watching that one, and I will catch up, Derek C. Williams. I thank you so much. You guys, please drop your links in the stream. If you want to do that, I'm all about it. I'm all about it. Thank you. Realize. I really appreciate it. You guys always can drop your links in the stream. If you have time, if you have the availability to do so, perfect. Okay, so drop your links in there. And yeah, John Roberts, I appreciate you so much for coming in. Simone Watchman was here. Flying Guillotine was here. Realize. Derek C. Williams was here. And Zero to Infinite, who I haven't seen in a lifetime. I appreciate you so much. All right, guys. Bye for now. Unless something else comes up. But definitely, I should see you somewhere between tomorrow and definitely Sunday.